Welcome to Drafting Out Loud's Underdog Market Movers for 5/8 2026, brought to you by the Leverage Lab. On today's episode, we're going to look at the risers. With so many players rising, who do we transition to get some value? We're going to look at the fallers. There's one faller that we want to grab. And then we're going to look at the value players and see if it confirms anything that we got going on. We're also going to look at a new chart. We're trying to get better every day, guys. If you stay till the end, we have a player that we expect to be on the risers tomorrow and the next day. And if you find this valuable for the 8 to 10 minutes that it takes out of your day, hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button for me, please. Help me out. Let's get into it. So first off, we have our leverage lab, and look at those risers. There's lots of wide receivers rising up the board, and they're becoming a little bit less of a value as we go. Antonio Williams is rising. Stephon Diggs is rising. Stribling is rising. Rice is rising. Johnston is rising. Hunter is rising. Downs is rising. Golden is rising. Tucker is rising. Reed is rising. The one player I didn't mention there is Ryan Flournoy. All these other players have a reason why they're rising, and some of them still have some value. But I think the one that we haven't really addressed at all, just entered the chart and is in a totally different place in the draft, is Ryan Flournoy. You can see here that everyone else is like in the 160s or higher up the board, while Ryan Flournoy's at 187. So basically, if you miss out on those other players, they get drafted higher. You don't want to go and reach for them. There's only so far we want to reach for some of these players, probably. Then the next target might be Ryan Flournoy. Expect him to maybe continue to rising. I've heard some buzz on him, and he is an exciting player in that he's right now the number 3 on the Dallas Cowboys. He showed that he could make it happen as the number 3 wide receiver last year. He showed that if he got a chance to be the number 2, that he could make it happen even more. And there's a slight outside chance, probably not, but a slight outside chance of a trade in Dallas to make him the number 2. Or if there was an injury, that could propel him into the number 2 spot as well. So I think he might be one of those receivers you want to target as you try to transition to other players as the market kind of, catches up to everything. On the running back side, we now have someone like a Chris Rodriguez all the way up at 111. Ouch. So who do we transition to? We transition to someone like Alvin Kamara at the end of the drafts. I think that if he does play, he's got a chance, right? The New Orleans Saints play fast. They pass a decent amount. Alvin Kamara is a pass catching running back. He's got tenure there. They're probably not just going to play him at all. And so he has a chance to hit some decent weeks and be a nice floor play for you at the very least if you have a running back room that requires it. I wouldn't be drafting him on every team, but it's someone I'd probably sprinkle in certain running back rooms. So there you go. There's our 2 new targets on the board, Alvin Kamara and Ryan Flournoy. When we look at the fallers, the one faller I think we need to target here a little bit is Trey McBride. He's now going in the 3rd round. So if you can find him falling further and further into the 3rd round, I think you just want to keep on sprinkling him in at different places, especially if you're one of those people that avoided him for the most part in the 2nd round, like you didn't have, 8 to 10% of them in the 2nd round. Ideally, you can get unique and better teams by sprinkling them in throughout the 3rd round. Of course, there's risk. Arizona's got quarterback risk. They also have pace of play, or kind of like how they play this year versus last year. Their defense is a little bit better. Their offense might be a little bit worse depending on the quarterback play. And so Trey McBride might have a hard time replicating what he did last year. But if you can get him throughout the 3rd round, isn't that a risk that we should be willing to take? And then we got the strong trends chart here on the bottom left. This is a new one. Again, trying to get better every day. There's 2 players on this chart that we really haven't talked a lot about, or that aren't on the fast risers chart as well. So one is Cam Scatabo. We've talked a lot about him. He is still rising, but he's not rising as fast anymore. So I don't know if I want to be pulling him up much more than where he's at right now, unless you're trying to get unique with things. Also, if the news breaks and he's super healthy, you're going to see him rise anyways. So you can use that as a chance to get unique. Or if news breaks and he's not as healthy as expected, you'll start to see him fall. You can get unique that way as well. So I don't know how much I'm going to be hammering Cam Scatabo if it appears as if his rise has started to slow down. Number two is Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews hasn't made any of our lists at all, but you can see there's been a slow burn up the boards here as well. 12% for the past 30 days and almost 1% for the last 2 days. I don't know where it's going to end. I wasn't really targeting him a whole lot. If you got Lamar Jackson, it's kind of nice, right? But I wasn't targeting him a whole lot, but he seems to just be sneakingly rising up the board. So someone to just keep in the back of your mind, especially if you go and get Lamar Jackson on your team. Let's look at our value plays. We have on the value side of things two players we want to hit on, and there's two we've already talked about already. One is Trey McBride. If my other argument didn't convince you enough to maybe take a little bit of Trey McBride, look at this. He's a 28.74% value on Underdog. He's going in the middle of the second on DraftKings. He's going in the beginning of the third on Underdog. I think you got to sprinkle him in a little bit and try to take the value if it's there. And then the other one is Alvin Kamara. Look at that. He's going 158 on DraftKings. He's going 189, 190 on Underdog, 18% value. Again, not the player that you super like, but I think you got to take the value, avoid him on Underdog probably, avoid him on DraftKings, get him on Underdog, and get a little bit of value. It's a half point PPR site, so you can understand why he's cheaper on Underdog, but a 30 pick difference is kind of crazy. Speaking of Mark Andrews that's rising up the boards. Look at Lamar Jackson is also a value. So I know we said we're only going to look at two there, but we'll look at three. Lamar Jackson is also a value here. So that kind of gives you a chance to go, you know what? Maybe I'm getting Mark Andrews at not the super great price that I like, but I'm getting Lamar Jackson at a nice discount compared to the market as a whole. And then I get Mark Andrews slightly more expensive, but overall it's a wash, or maybe it's still a benefit for me considering Mark Andrews is rather late in the drafts overall. Okay, I promised one sneaky, I don't know about sneaky, that might be a little too extreme, but one player that was not on our risers list that we expect to be there tomorrow. That player is Aaron Rodgers. He has not signed yet, but as usual, there's the next piece of news that he's going to meet with the Steelers and he's going to sign his contract. Who knows? I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't happen, but I kind of expect it to happen. And I think the market as a whole expects it to happen. There's already a little bit of rise. I expect that rise to be even higher tomorrow. So build some teams where Aaron Rodgers is a good fit for your Underdog platform. I guess DraftKings as well. On Underdog, I've been thinking about this, 18 rounds. I think the best way to get him on your team and make the most sense out of it is avoid some of those high-end quarterbacks and try to get three in the two in like the window and then Aaron Rodgers at the end type of thing. I think that's maybe a good build that I'm going to try today if I can. On DraftKings, grab whatever two quarterbacks you want and try to get an Aaron Rodgers there towards the end. He's kind of rising up compared to before, but get Aaron Rodgers your third quarterback on DraftKings. 20 rounds, you can do wonders with 20 rounds. There you go. All that information packed into less than 9 minutes. If you liked it, hit the like button, subscribe. I find this valuable for myself. I hope you find it valuable for you. If you don't, let me know why. See you on the next one. Peace.